Spoštovane gledalke, spoštovani gledalci, lepo pozdravljeni v novem letu. Preden se čisto poslovimo od preteklega leta, poglejte še malo nazaj in se nam pridružite na tem webinarju, da vidimo, kaj je preteklo leto prineslo borzi. Današnji webinar bo malo poseben, ker bo potekal v slovenskem in angleškem jeziku. V razpravi bom gostila predstavnike družbe InterCapital, ki je že tretjič zapored osvojila naziv član leta na Ljubljanski borzi. Moje ime je Karmen Pogorevc in v imenu Ljubljanske borze bo danes vodila ta prvi letošnji online dogodek. Dear ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year and a welcome to our webcast titled A View from Abroad. My name is Karmen Pogorevc and I will be hosting today's event. We will start the webcast in Slovene with the presentation of trading results of Ljubljana Stock Exchange. Afterwards, there will be a discussion in English with my guests from InterCapital Securities. Kot ponavadi pa najprej pravno obvestilo. Webinar je izključno informativne narave. Na njem bodo sodelovali finančni strokovnjaki, ki bodo izrazili svoja osebna mnenja in spoznanja. Vsebina webinarja ali katerikoli del njega ne predstavlja naložbenih priporočil, naložbenega svetovanja ali nagovarjanja k investiranju. Webinar se snema, posnetek pa bo kasneje na voljo na YouTube kanalu borze. And a short disclaimer in English. The webinar is strictly informative and it does not represent any investment advice. You are welcome to post questions in the Q&A section. Občinstvo torej vabim, da postavlja vprašanja v Q&A del. Sedaj pa si poglejmo kratek pregled, kakšno je bilo poslovanje na Ljubljanski borzi v zadnjem četrtletju leta 2021.
Vrednost tržne kapitalizacije lastniških inštrumentov se je glede na konec predhodnega četrtletja zvišala za 7,2% in je konec decembra 2021 znašala 9.513 milijonov evrov. Navedeno zvišanje je posledica rasti tečajev. Če pogledamo celo leto 2021, se je tržna kapitalizacija lastniških inštrumentov zvišala za kar 37,5%. Celotni promet na Ljubljanski borzi je v četrtem kvartalu 2021 znašal 91,6 milijonov evrov, promet brez svežnjev pa 81,4 milijonov evrov, kar je precejšen porast glede na preteklo četrtletje in sicer kar z 27,7% več prometa brez svežnjev. Povprečni dnevni promet je znašal 1,5 milijona evrov, povprečno število poslov na dan pa 127. V predhodnem četrtletju je bilo to število 104. Največ prometa je bilo kot ponavadi upravljenega z delnicami prve kotacije. Tudi v četrtem kvartalu 2021 so bile najprometnejše delnice Krke iz prve kotacije. Z njimi je bilo ustvarjenega 42% prometa vseh delnic borze, drugo mesto glede na dosežen promet so z 19,9% deležem zasedle delnice NLB. Tretje pa s 15,2% deležem delnice Petrola. Izmed dolžniških inštrumentov se je trgovalo le z obveznicami Petrola 5. izdaje in z obveznicami KD Group 3. izdaje. V decembru 2021 sta delnici NLB in Krke prejeli naziv delnica leta prve kotacije. Medtem ko je bil v standardni kotaciji ta naziv podeljen delnici Uniorja. Poleg pridobitve naziva delnica leta prve kotacije je Krka prejela še nagrado za najboljše odnose z izdajatelji. Večini delnic je v letu 2021 tečaj zrasel. Zmagovalce in poražence smo tokrat iskali samo med delnicami, s katerimi je bilo v letu 2021 sklenjenih za več kot 100 tisoč evrov poslov. Največ so na vrednosti pridobile delnice NLB. Sledijo delnice Salusa, Petrola, Save Re in Cinkarne Celje. V letu 2021 so na celotnem trgu vrednosti izgubile le 4 delnice, pri čemer je do padca tečajev ob večji vrednosti letnega prometa prišlo le pri delnicah KD in KD Group. Poglejmo si sedaj še gibanje slovenskih indeksov napram ostalim v regiji. Indeks SBI Top prikazuje odebeljena svetlomodra črta, novi indeks SBI Total Return pa temnomodra odebeljena črta. V četrtem kvartalu 2021 je indeks SBI Top pridobil 7,9% vrednosti, nov indeks SBI Total Return pa še nekoliko več na račun dividendne donosnosti in sicer 8,9%. Indeks SBI Top je v celotnem lanskem letu zrasel za kar 39,8% in konec leta zabeležil vrednost 1258,8 točk. Najnižjo vrednost je dosegel 4. januarja 2021, ko je znašal 906,3 točke. Najvišjo vrednost pa je dosegel na predzadnji dan trgovanja, to je 29. decembra 2021, ko je znašal 1271,25 točk. Preglejmo še grafe gibanja cen posameznih delnic v prvi kotaciji. Za delnice prve kotacije je bil četrti kvartal zelo uspešen. Vse delnice so namreč ustvarile lepe pozitivne donose. Delnice iz sektorja finančnih in zavarovalniških dejavnosti so dosegle naslednje rasti. Zavarovalnica Triglav plus 9,5%, NLB plus 5%, pozavarovalnica Sava plus 3,3%. Delnice iz sektorjev predelovalnih dejavnosti in trgovine, vzdrževanja in popravil motornih vozil so dosegle naslednje rasti. Krka plus 5,8%, Cinkarna Celje plus 8,8%, Petrol plus 16,5% in Mercator plus 25%. Delnice iz sektorjev informacijske in komunikacijske dejavnosti in promet in skladiščenje so dosegle naslednje rasti. Luka Koper plus 1,7%, Telekom Slovenije 4,1%, InterEuropa plus 5%. Vse delnice v sestavi SBI Top so v preteklem letu prinesle dividende. Rekorderke po dividendni donosnosti so KD Group, Cinkarna Celje in Telekom Slovenije.
And now I'm delighted to introduce my guests from InterCapital Securities. I warmly welcome Mr. Matko Maravic, President of the Management Board, Mr. Danijel Delač, Member of the Board, and Mr. Dino Dürrigl, an Analyst. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us.
I'm sure our audience is eager to hear your opinions, so let's start with our discussion. First, as we have seen on the presentation, Slovenian stock market was one of the best markets in 2021. Why do you think it performed so well? Dino, would you please start?
Yes, thank you for the question. So as you said, 2021 was definitely a great year for Slovenian equities, with SBI Top showing a total return of close to 45%, which was the best year of the Slovenian index since 2007, and was one of the best performances we've seen on global equity markets as well. I would say that there are a couple of key reasons which led to this so-called perfect storm for Slovenia in 2021. First of all, in early 2021, we had a rotation towards value and cyclical stocks, which definitely benefited Slovenia, as it can be seen as a pure value play. As well, we did see a continuation of the positive sentiment, not only on the regional markets, but as well on global markets, which kind of continued almost uninterruptedly in Slovenia throughout the year, despite certain setbacks, such as the new variants of the coronavirus. Besides that, I would say that some of the key reasons why we had such a great year were also very solid results from virtually all companies within the index, as well as fundamentally attractive companies within that index. While also it's important to mention that the sectoral shift in the index or the exposure the index gives you was also one of the reasons why we had such a great year.
Did a great opening. Matko, do you see an important correlation between Slovenia and other financial markets?
I would say partially. I don't think Slovenia or any other small markets are super correlated looking historically with the developed US market or even German DAX market. So I think the key reason is the composition of the index itself. But you know, there are certain themes, but I'm saying partially, there are certain themes that do connect the markets. You know, there was a very long bullish run on the international markets, on foreign markets. It finally spilled over to Slovenia. We had already long-lasting period of low interest rates. So people are moving savings into mutual funds, which ends up in the end on the stock market. So these general themes do connect the markets. But what is more important and what we see as a more important correlation is the inflows and outflows into frontier funds. So frontier funds, international funds that invest into Slovenia, when they have inflows, they tend to trade more, increases the volume, increases the prices, or if they have outflows, the money moves away from the region. However, we recently published our outlook for the Slovenian capital markets in 2022. We do see another upside of close to 20%. And what helps is that we were looking at how much discount Slovenia is traded compared to more developed markets. So this historic discount was roughly 40%, I think 42% when we were writing the report roughly 3 weeks ago. And now it's closer to 60. So the gap is even bigger now after a stellar year. So that's another reason why we are fairly optimistic going into 2022. And if we were to judge by the first 10 days, it looks good.
It surely does. So we started in green, and let's stay optimistic for the rest of the year. Daniel, you are working with institutional and retail clients. Do you observe any difference in behavior, how retail clients decide on their investments, and what is important to institutional clients?
Well, you are correct. I mean, InterCapital has a broad network of clients ranging from biggest investment funds which invest in Ljubljana to different corporates and retail investors. I would say that I started working as a broker in 2007, and I can say that I've seen different types of investment strategies throughout the years. In the last couple of years, I can say that appetite and investment style of all of these types of clients has shifted from trying to find some hidden, undervalued small caps. And in the last years, everybody turned their attention to quality and liquidity, which can only be provided by blue chips. So in our experience, I would say that main qualities, main factors clients are searching for when they decide where to invest are nice dividend yield, at least 3 to 4%, reasonable liquidity, so I would say 50 to 100,000 euros average daily liquidity, definitely narrow bid-ask spread, so up to 2% maximum, and of course reasonable valuations and then quality corporate governance. We at InterCapital started doing market making activities in Ljubljana Stock Exchange a few years ago, and we definitely helped in narrowing the bid-ask spread, which in turn enables clients, I mean investors, to buy or sell a position more easily, especially retail investors. So this helps, and of course all of these blue chips are delivering nice business results while they're still while their valuations are still, even after excellent 2021, fairly reasonable. So I'm optimistic for the upcoming year as well. I mean, if you scan the Ljubljana Stock Exchange main market segment, you can conclude that roughly 5 to 6 blue chips more or less satisfy the described qualities I mentioned. So because of all these reasons, we at InterCapital believe that Slovenian equity market, we believe in it. We've been promoting it globally for years, and we will continue doing so.
We are glad to hear that, and interesting observations you have mentioned. One of them was liquidity, which is obviously the problem for many institutional investors.
Of course.
Yes, they pointed out as a main obstacle for entering into, I guess, not just Slovenian, but all emerging markets. So if you can give us some more insight into how you tackle this issue.
Well, I mean, Slovenia is a frontier market according to MSCI market segments. You are correct. I mean, liquidity is still an issue for big institutional clients, foreign institutional clients. But in the same time, this is affecting almost all frontier markets. So they're kind of used to it. The way how to tackle this is to kind of do what can be done to narrow the bid-ask spreads, which then enables bigger block trades to happen. I mean, they can more easily happen when bid-ask is 1% compared to 10%. So it's a struggle, it's a process, but I would say that we are, I mean, the market and us as a company are doing everything to enable easier trading on Ljubljana. I mean, we can never expect liquidity like in Western Europe or US, but some things can be done and we are doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that.
Yes, please.
Of course, it's always mentioned the liquidity is an issue. I can't get in and out, but it's also it's what we have to do to convince the clients, because to trade these markets, because as I said earlier, the discount is fairly large compared to Western Europe. So you do get, it's harder maybe to find, to get in and get out, but you on a fundamental level are usually buying at way cheaper prices compared to Western Europe. So that's on us, I guess, to promote the market and to convince new investors to get in. I mean, the second thing is definitely new issues, so large scale IPOs. We haven't seen many in a wider region over the past years, and when we had one, they were successful, and they were invested in by institutional investors. But what we tend to do, besides what Danijel said, market making and narrowing the spread, is trying to engage retail, because there's not going to be increase in liquidity without retail participation. So we are continuously publishing research on all blue chips, which we distribute to our clients, both international, domestic. And I would definitely say that it would be great if more research houses were present on the market. This is something that we need to do to promote the investments. The second thing, what we have done in Croatia, and we do plan, or InterCapital as a group does plan in the next month or so, is listing of ETFs. So ETFs are another way to attract retail investors. It's more cost effective, less taxes, and this has been a great success domestically, both the Croatian and Slovenian ETF. We plan to do it in Slovenia as well. So I think, or I hope, that this will more engage firstly the retail investors, which should in the mid-long term increase liquidity, then of course making it easier for institutional clients to get in.
Yeah, we really hope that you'll manage to do that. The last IPO we had, like the biggest one, was NLB, and it was, yes, a major success. Definitely, we are looking forward to some other companies to join the stock market maybe sometime in the future. And as you already mentioned, those big gaps between the valuations, maybe Dino, you as an analyst can add something about it, like why do you find Slovenian blue chips so undervalued compared to the competitors?
Yes, sure. So we definitely believe that Slovenia is still very much undervalued, despite a sharp increase back in 2021. If we look at a PE of SBI Top, it's currently traded somewhere around 8 times earnings, which is still significantly lower than its historic average of roughly 10. So there is a gap even towards its own historic average. But it's also important to say that this is one of the lowest multiples, not only globally, but regionally as well. And as Matko already said, there is one of the largest discounts towards developed markets. And by developed markets, I would say, S&P value. So in a sense, we are comparing apples to apples, but different markets. And surely, I would say that there definitely should be a discount towards developed markets, Slovenia-wise. But I believe that this discount is unjustifiably high, or that Slovenia's PE is currently unjustifiably low. If we look at 2022 and our estimated earnings, we believe that the current PE forward 2022 PE is roughly higher, somewhere below 9 times earnings. But I would still say that that's still very much fundamentally attractive. We believe that the market is going to continue providing a very interesting dividend play of close to 5 to 6% in the coming years. Definitely one of the highest in the regions, as well as that the companies are going to continue showing solid results in the coming years.
Okay, since you've already mentioned dividends, Matko, we all know, yes, that Slovenian blue chips carry really high dividends. How important are those dividends for your clients?
If I would need to say a yes or no answer, it's more inclined towards yes. So yes, clients prefer dividends because it sort of gives the sense that the company is making money. It's a strong balance sheet. And I think especially in our region, people like this feeling that every year they get something back from their investment. So we are speaking about a fairly mature market, so no growth companies compared to Western Europe. So it is expected that dividends are there. We had a discussion among ourselves prior to this call, and I don't think we have exactly the same view, but I would say that there are clients who would rather not have dividends, and then I think that would be smaller or way smaller retail investors, because dividends themselves do carry some costs, and if you want to invest again, you get a dividend and you have to buy more, which is good for the market, it's good for the liquidity, but sometimes these costs can eat up some of the yield, especially if the investments are substantially low, so a couple of €1,000 to put it in this way. So I think that that's another reason I'm driving back towards the ETF. The ETF has this great policy of reinvesting the dividends. So for smaller orders or for smaller investments, it's a great way to start. But institutional investors, foreign investors, they do look at Slovenia as a dividend play, as a dividend yield. So definitely a great thing to have, especially in these times of low interest rates, where majority of people have zero or negative in the banks. Where you have strong balance sheet companies paying out regular dividends throughout the cycle, it's definitely beneficiary in a sense to promote this market in this way. So my final answer, yes to dividends.
Yeah, but as you have said, it's not a black and white story, and yes, for some retail clients, it can eat up some yield. So
yeah, I mean, especially we don't have this in Slovenia as of or in the region as a general rule, as you probably know. Companies abroad pay even quarterly dividends, so we don't have this. And so I think. To not get me wrong, I would not like to move out the dividend policies of the Slovenian blue chips. My point is, I would say probably 75% of clients want dividends. Smaller clients like their dividends to be reinvested. So we can't put everyone in the same basket.
Okay. Danijel, in Slovenia, there have been record inflows in mutual funds. It seems the Slovenians really become brave when there are records in the stock markets. Do you also observe such a customer behavior on stock markets?
I mean, record inflows into equity markets, either through direct investments into stocks or ETFs, or inflows into mutual funds, which in turn then invest on the stock exchange, is a global theme and trend for last year and a half at least. So this is not a question of just a trend in Slovenia. It's a global theme. low interest rates, even negative interest rates, excellent performance of global indexes worldwide, high, even unreasonable real estate prices are among other reasons are the main drivers why I'm not surprised to see them, and I see such a trend going forward as well. I mean, on top of that, you also have a nice buzz about strong market performance of local exchanges. This also helps to attract investors. So I would say that, as Dino nicely put it, it's a perfect storm. At least it was in 2021. And we expect to see similar trends in 2022 as well. And last but not least, you are, as you already said, I mean, Slovenian mutual funds are getting new inflows from mostly retail investors. In the same time, Slovenian investment funds are not too invested locally. They are mostly invested globally. So I wouldn't be surprised if they increase their exposure into Slovenia, and this could definitely be beneficial for Ljubljana Stock Exchange in the upcoming time.
True. I do think we have some people from our mutual funds listening, so maybe they'll take your advice on. Some analysts argue that Slovenian companies are not enough ambitious when they are setting their goals. So, Dino, what do you think about it?
Well, yes. So what we have seen in the previous years is that Slovenian companies publish their plans for the year forward, and usually they are estimating certain growth on all lines, and usually the year then shows that those companies end up beating their own estimates or their own plans. But I wouldn't call that being unambitious at all. I would rather say that that's a part of carefully constructed corporate governance, in which the company and the management of those companies are being careful on what they're trying to deliver to their own shareholders. In a way, I would say the markets are anticipative in their nature, so it's always better to under-promise and over-deliver than the other way around.
True. True. We already touched a little bit the forecasts. So let's see, most of the CEOs of Slovenian blue chips expect another good year, increased revenues, increased investments, higher profits. But what are your expectations for the year for the stocks on Ljubljana Stock Exchange? Maybe Matko, would you start?
As I said, I mean, as a market, we do see a total return of close to 20%. I wouldn't. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to specific.
We are losing you a little bit.
I would say there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think that's okay. You can continue.
Okay. Thanks. I wouldn't go into specific stock.
Okay.
But as a theme, I think this could be a great year for the financial sector. So that would be my view. You know, given the macro environment, I would put my bets on that, and we see definitely as one of the key drivers of 2022.
Let's have now a quick look on the foreign markets. Globally, there is a threat of high inflation. Central banks are intervening. There are record energy prices. There is still lack of some materials, and not to mention, COVID is still here. Now with a new version. Anyways, stock markets seem to ignore all these factors. Do you expect that to continue in 2022? Maybe Dino?
Yeah, great question. Well, we're definitely seeing already in the beginning of 2021 volatility on global markets, partially due to expected rise of interest rates, due to the tapering, the central banks are becoming more hawkish. So inflation is already a problem. There is a new variant of coronavirus, which definitely do pose for more volatility. So we might see actually, and that's my personal view, is that we are going to see an outperformance of regional markets towards global markets. One of the reasons why I see this is because of the sectoral exposure which Slovenia currently offers. I believe that Slovenia currently has financials have the largest weight they have ever had in the index of close to 40%. So I believe that despite all of the setbacks that we might see in 2022, that the Slovenian index is actually positioned very well towards those setbacks.
Okay, would Daniel maybe add something, or you agree with Dino?
Yes, I agree with what my colleague said. I mean, this year we can definitely expect more sector rotations on foreign markets, from high risk plays in tech sector towards mostly banks and few other sectors who could benefit from a slight increase in interest rates. And in Slovenia, we also have a couple of plays on how to approach this expected increase in interest rates. So I agree with what my colleague said.
Well, I mean, if I can add, it's not that
yes,
we're focusing on financial. It has a big weight, but you know, recently over the past months, as we're publishing our research reports, we are bullish on pharma, we're bullish on financials, we're bullish on oil and gas. So I think it streams what we mentioned during the call. The current PE of the index is 8. It's at these times, I guess, hard not to be bullish. I don't want to sound too optimistic, but when we observe all these factors, and yes, there are risks, as you mentioned, we still do see across sectors actually expectation of a solid year.
Matko, I've noticed that you revealed your personal portfolio composition on LinkedIn. That was quite a positive surprise. So do you plan to do that regularly? And what were the reactions of your clients?
First, I do plan to do it regularly. I will actually disclose it in the coming week. I plan to do it every quarter. The reactions were very positive. A lot of people called me, and I mean, firstly they asked you, why did you do it? And you know, it's your personal portfolio and so forth. I think we are here, besides being the guardian of the market as brokers, we need to promote it in any way possible. So I think it's I felt it's fair in a way that I disclose what I do, and that people can see that what we trade and what we do with our money, it's nothing, you know, spectacular, to put it this way. Some would say my portfolio is boring. I have you know, roughly 50% in ETFs, so US and the region. I recently added, and this will be I guess published next week, I added some Europe, so DAX, again, nothing spectacular. I don't tend really to stock pick. I don't have time, and I am saving over a very, very long period of time, so the index is just fine for me. So 75% of my portfolio is sort of what I long-term believe is good. 25% of my portfolio, I guess, is more on a speculative side. So for people who didn't see, I have a tiny bit of crypto. I had some green certificates. Now I'm changing this to something that I will disclose next week. So I guess so 75% value and 25% of more speculative. And what I say and what I said with my portfolio, and it's important, I guess, to disclose here, I am saving over a long term. I am investing every month. I'm not worried that the stock market is going to crash 25%. If it does, I'm probably not going to sell. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy, but I tend to keep this as savings for my kids. So it's not something that I will be too worried about. And I think people need to be ready when investing in the stock market, that there will be periods and years of when you can lose money, but it's sort of a cycle. So I tend to stay with this boring ETFs as part of my portfolio. But you know, the past year was great, and so I'm talking with optimism. I'd say I didn't disclose it before. 2020 with the Corona was not a great year for trading. So there are years when you make money, there are years when you lose money. But you know, tying back to Slovenia, I do have a Slovenian ETF in my portfolio, and I disclosed that I have NLB Bank. So I actually tend to build on that personally in the future. So.
Oh, thank you for your honest answer. We have a question from the audience, and I don't know if you can comment, but I'll just read it, and you can say if you can or not. Could you please give the comment regarding the upcoming elections in Slovenia? What should we as investors expect? It's more like macro, so if there is something you can say, or we'll just leave it.
I mean, we don't have to leave it. I wouldn't comment on the elections. I definitely won't. But in terms of fundamental investing, I see no big threat of any change in either legislation or you know, political stance. All these companies are fairly large caps, operating on multiple markets. It's not just, you know, Slovenia itself. So I don't see this as a huge or you know, as a big risk for the investments.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you can add, of course.
If I can just add on this, I mean, we as a company are present in several markets. For example, a lot of our clients who trade Croatia and Slovenia through us also actively trade in Romania. Romania is a great example of a country which constantly has political turmoil, falling governments, new governments, even changes in regulation. And in the same time, their stock market is performing stellar. The last couple of years were fantastic. So in these smaller markets, fundamentals are always most important, assuming politics is kind of at least semi-predictable. So I agree with Matko. I wouldn't expect too much to change in investors' perception.
Thank you for that clarification, Danijel. I think we've come to the end with our questions. Maybe just if you can add some final remarks, if you wish. Maybe Danijel, you can just start.
Well, my last recommendation would be, I mean, for some of our viewers or listeners who are not too involved with the stock exchange at the moment, if I would need to give them some kind of advice, I would say that best thing they can do for themselves is to concentrate on quality and focus on blue chips. It's a great start on how to invest on the stock exchange. ETFs, which Matko mentioned, are, in my view, the best and easiest and smartest way how to enter the market. So for new investors, this is something that they can look into. They should look into.
Okay, Dino?
Well, I would also like to add, for those who are maybe new to investing, is that of course diversification is extremely important, and a view of longer term will, in a sense, lead to an easier gain on equity markets than trying to predict what the stock market will do in a day, month, or even a year. So for those who do not have enough time to spend days analyzing companies or the market itself, I would say that it is easier to be invested over a longer period of time to look at the stock market not as some kind of a gamble, but actually as savings. So I think that that's especially for us Croatians, we are heavily involved in the equity markets as retail investors, and that's something that has to be changed throughout the following years. So that's about it from me.
Okay, Matko, before your final remark, maybe just there is another question. How large are the local ETFs now? That's from the audience. If you can comment on that, if you have the data.
Should I answer, or?
Yeah, if you know the answer, how big are those?
Both ETFs are somewhere above 60 million kuna, so that's just slightly below 10 million euros in the market cap.
Okay, thank you. Matko, your final remark as we are approaching our time limit. We can't hear you.
We have done it in this way, especially three of us in the same time. I certainly hope that our predictions and views are correct, and that we're going to be here in a year again saying that we expect another great 2023. If not, I guess we'll find very good reasons why, you know, we were wrong. So
well, this will be put on YouTube, so everybody
that's fine.
can
as of now
hear.
As of now, we remain very optimistic on Slovenia for 2022. It really started off well, and we certainly hope it will end well. So, thank you again.
Okay, dear guests, it's been really a great pleasure hosting all of you today. So thank you, Matko, Maravic, Danijel, Delač, and Dino Dürrigl from InterCapital Securities for sharing your insights. And of course, keep on the good work. And of course, big thanks to you, our audience, for attending this webinar in such a great number. I'll be happy to see you all in the future on some events organized by Ljubljana Stock Exchange. And I wish you all a nice day and goodbye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.